Welcome to another episode of Yusof Plays. Thanks for joining me. Today we have a number of wonderful pickups that, have a lot of good memories connected to them, as well as were collected in fun and interesting ways rather than just purchasing them on eBay. So that's been the fun part of collecting lately. Nothing in particular that I just really wanted, other than maybe one or two games, but just coming across all of these things, whether it was in the wild or on social media or elsewhere, was very satisfying. I think more fun than collecting, because it's you just go on eBay, you look up a game you want, you haggle or you buy it, and then they ship it to you. There's no emotional connection to that experience. But today we have a number of emotional experiences, and that's really at the end of the day what collecting is about. It's not about playing the games, it's about collecting them in fun ways. Playing the games, that's a whole other thing. Though I am still playing Donkey Kong Bonanza, and last night I made it to the fourth world. It's great. It's almost too good of a game, because it's just so much fun. You'll just be sort of like, you'll get lost in just breaking down the entire level, because all of it is destructible. You'll just walk around breaking the entire level for hours on end and be like, what was I supposed to be doing, both in my life and in the game? So finally made it to the fourth world. I probably put like 15 to 20 hours in it, and I'm only on world 4 now. I don't know how long it is or how much there is, but like in the first 3 worlds I collected almost every banana and fossil that there was to collect. Now, not 100%, but in this world, I think it's the 3rd world, I was just like, I'm gonna stop, or else I'm gonna not be able to beat this game in a reasonable amount of time. If I still feel, I'm also gonna tire myself out. I'm gonna burn myself out on the experience. If I just go and do it casually and then come back if I really want to, that'll be a better experience. I tend to do that. I tend to just get so in on a game and be like, I'm gonna 100% this. I'm gonna see everything there is to see. Not a good way to play. So second half of World 3 and moving forward, that's the strategy. Just enjoy it like a normal person. Don't get too keyed in. But regardless, that's what I've been playing. I'm also on the last level of a ranger, with a lot of help from our esteemed producer. Thankfully, without her, I would not. I think I'm okay at the puzzles, but a lot of my solutions to puzzles is just keep punching it until it works, rather than really thinking about it critically ahead of time, as she does. Sometimes I do that, but sometimes I'm tired and I just want to move around a lot. If you don't know, Ranger's an amazing indie game with that functions sort of like when you were a kid at the doctor's office and you had those puzzles where there was one open space and you had to move it around to complete the picture. It's sort of like that, but in way more complex game form. So I recommend it. The artist also worked on Braid, one of the most important and influential indie games ever, really. So it's not only really fun, but also beautiful and super charming. So Ranger, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and then when I beat Bonanza, I'm gonna move on to either Returnal or Last of Us Part 2 or Death Stranding. So we'll see. But that's enough talk of what we're playing. We're gonna talk about what we're not going to play. And that's going to be, I'm gonna start with my pickups in the very retro space. So on a previous video, I discussed I don't know why I just suddenly started wanting complete in-box Super Nintendo and N64 games. I've only collected one complete in-box N64. That's going to be Pilot Wings. But there's a wonderful individual on Instagram who I've been following, Retro Treasures, and boy, does he get some amazing stuff consistently. He is constantly putting up just a huge collection that he bought of, complete in-box Super Nintendo, complete in-box N64, and just being like, here are the prices, DM me. So I wanted to get a couple of games from him. He was like, oh, those have already been sold. But I was like, I'm seeing some stuff here that that I do want. And unfortunately, 2 of them I found out have more updated versions. Now that's okay. I think these are great versions to have, and they're in excellent condition. And for the condition that they were in, they're in reasonable price. But we'll get to that. So first, I got a reproduction box for Super Mario World. Now, I already had the cartridge and manual, but the thing is that because Super Mario World was only released later in the Super Nintendo's life cycle as a singular box game, those go for like $800. For those who don't know, Super Mario World just came with Super Nintendos. So everybody just has the cartridge. It didn't come in the box. It came with your Super Nintendo. And something like 90+% probably are just loose cartridges with the manual, which I have, authentic ones. Now, if you want the complete in-box, authentic box, Super Mario World, that box alone takes it from like $20 or $30 to like $800, $900. That's how rare this box is, especially a good condition one. Now, I think that's incredibly stupid. So I've been eyeing a reproduction box, and this one's not bad. They said this is the best reproduction box out there. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the Etsy seller, but if you look up Super Mario World Etsy box, you'll find this seller, and they do lots of boxes. Now, is this as high quality as a actual authentic Super Nintendo box? No, the art is a little blurry. The colors are just a touch off, but it is quite good. It's sturdy. It came with an insert to put your cartridge in. And, it does the job. I think, it's a good scan. It's not a phenomenal scan. Now, if you compare it to example for the next game that I got, now this one I got on eBay, not from Retro Treasures, but boy, was the condition excellent, and I could not say no. That's going to be, Tetris and Dr. Mario. Now that I'm looking at the back of the box, it kind of is equivalently low quality. Maybe this is reproduction. I don't think so though, because the front just looks so good. So no, I think it looks really good. I think it's authentic. Now I'm having a crisis on or recording the video. No, but it looks very good. And this came with the manual and everything. And just 2 of the best puzzle games of all time. Like what more do you want? It's Tetris and Dr. Mario. So that's Super Mario World reproduction box and Tetris and Dr. Mario authentic. So we picked those up. And then from Retro Treasures, I got 3 complete in-box Super Nintendo games with little covers, which is nice. First, we've got a Super Nintendo Super Scope game that I had never heard of before seeing it. And it was developed by Intelligent Systems, who's still a developer owned by Nintendo. I believe they developed the Fire Emblem games now, which are very popular, but we've got Super Scope. Battle Clash, which you use a Super Scope. I don't have a Super Scope, but I just thought it was sick, and the art, the sprite art in particular, is very, very cool. I was reading the manual to this, and basically it's a bunch of people who are like trying to save the world by piloting mechs, but they are super offensive racist caricatures of various, ethnic cultures. Like there's a half Japanese, half German guy. I guess he's supposed to be like, hey, here's the Nazi. But he is hideous. Really all the characters are hideously drawn, and really racist characters. So I'm gonna have to look into that. Battle Clash. That's Battle Clash. Also picked up, so initially I couldn't choose between getting this or the updated version. So I picked up also Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But I was like, should I get Super Street Fighter 2? Sorry, Pasha's down here. I'm recording on the cat tree, and he's fucking it up. Excuse my language. Anyways, so upon a little more research, I picked it up, and then I did a little more research, and a lot of people were saying, no, Street Fighter 2 Turbo is the best on Super Nintendo, because Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, they add 4 more characters, DJ, T-Hawk, so I think Cammy. Oh, Pasha. Yeah, Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I'm not gonna stop recording. Yeah, so Street Fighter 2 Turbo apparently has better art, or better sprite art, and better sound. For whatever reason, maybe because of the cartridge limitations, a lot of people were saying, no, the sound and art and stuff like that on Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo does not look as good. So I'll take that. And then somebody on Reddit was like, wisely, Nintendo on the SNES Classic, which I have, put Turbo because that's a great one. Most people have great memories with it, but also I think it's the best version. Now those full characters are nice, but at the end of the day, I don't remember what it's called, Super Duper Street Fighter 2 Ultimate Hyper Fighting Champions or something like that on Switch, which was a Switch launch title if I'm not mistaken. And at some point a few years ago, it was like $80-$90. Then it came down for whatever reason. But I have that, picked that up relatively recently, like within the last year. And that's the best version of Street Fighter 2 that you can get. So, and you can switch between, traditional sprite art or I forget the name of the comic artist or the comic, production house that does the Street Fighter art, or some of the Street Fighter art. But you can switch between those. You can choose all the turbo modes, has all the characters, etc. It looks great. Another game that I got from Retro Treasures, which I found out has a upgraded version I had no clue, is NBA Jam. Now, NBA Jam, everyone knows from He's Heating Up, and it's a classic. You can play as, for whatever reason, instead of Michael Jordan, so for those that don't know, NBA Jam is like a 2-on-2 basketball game, arcade game, that was ported to Super Nintendo and Genesis. The Genesis version is better in some ways, Super Nintendo in other ways. 2 players from each of the, famous 90s NBA teams. You got Malone and Stockton, you got Hardaway and Mullen, and then, on the Rockets, you got Olajuwon and Maxwell. And for some reason, on the Bulls, you have Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant instead of Michael Jordan. Is this like a center guard thing? It's a little weird. They should have just had Jordan. Maybe you can unlock him or something, but it's a bit strange. But there is a tournament edition which adds more characters and secrets and unlocks and things like that. I just got the regular version. That's cool. NBA Jam. I'm usually a stickler about those sorts of things, but whatever. I'll just get that too. Collecting never ends. Okay, so the next 4 games I just picked up on eBay. We're gonna move on from Super Nintendo to Xbox 360 and Xbox. Now, so these are some ones that I was pretty happy about. The first is games that you cannot get physically in any other way, and it was never released in North America. These are Xbox Live Arcade releases. The triple pack, Xbox 360 triple pack, Peggy 16, Peggy 12, that you cannot get otherwise. They're probably still available for purchase on Xbox Live. If they've Xbox on your Series X, they've done a wonderful job of upkeeping that. But Outland in particular is interesting because it is one of the first games developed by Housemarque, the developers of Returnal and now Saros, which is coming out at the end of the month. Very excited for that. I think that's going to be a big, critical darling. I hope it sells well because I just think those developers are amazing. Like I said, next I'm going to return to playing Returnal. So Outland on console, only available here physically. And From Dust is a super, super interesting godlike game from Ubisoft. I believe the developer, Eric Chahi, makes such interesting games, including Another World, which was I'm pretty sure he made Another World, which is the inspiration for Ico, for Fumito Ueda. I may be incorrect on this, but I'm pretty sure. Fumito Ueda. He was inspired by Another World and Eric Chahi's games to get into game development. And Ico, in turn, inspired Hidetaka Miyazaki to get into game development or change his sort of game development, his design philosophy, which resulted in Demon's Souls and Dark Souls and Elden Ring and etc. So we can trace this incredible lineage of genre-changing games from Prince of Persia to Eric Chahi to Fumito Ueda to Hidetaka Miyazaki. It's kind of incredible. And then Beyond Good and Evil HD was previously the sort of definitive version of Beyond Good and Evil, but they did another really, really great remaster, which is available on all modern consoles, and which I do own physically on both Switch and PlayStation 5. So that's great. And then more Xbox Live Arcade games that you can't get anywhere except physically on this. This is actually an interesting dual pack that must have come with consoles. We got Sega Superstars Tennis, so you got Sonic, you got Space Channel 5 Girl, Samba de Amigo, the monkey, I forget his name, but the monkey ball monkey. And then an Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc that comes with Uno, and I particularly bought it because it has Pac-Man Championship DX, which is one of the best Pac-Man games. So that's a combo. It's sealed, and it was like $15, so that's nice. I probably won't open it, but it's cool to have. The next two were high up on my 360 wants list, and unfortunately, I learned that this one is not even backwards compatible, but we've got Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena, one of the most lauded first-person shooters of that era. And what's cool about this that you may know is that it comes with a remake of the original Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay on Xbox. So contains 2 games in one, and both of them are supposedly excellent. Unfortunately, not backwards compatible on Series X, though I wish it was, but I'll have to check that because there's super cool atmospheric, sort of immersive sim elements. Maybe not fully immersive sim, but yeah, includes the remastered 2004 classic Escape from Butchered Bay on one disc. That's very cool. And then the next, as everyone knows, I'm a huge Capcom fan. I really want Pragmata, but I'm gonna wait. This was a blind spot, and it is backwards compatible. A lot of people say that this game was far ahead of its time. It is mostly just a game of, what's the word? QuickTime events, which I find interesting, but that's Asura's Wrath. And this was getting up there in price. I got it for a decent price, 40 something, but this can go for like 60, 70 bucks. And this is just like one of those interesting, you know, not Resident Evil, not Street Fighter games that Capcom was making in the 360 PS3 era. Things like Dead Rising, Lost Planet, and Asura's Wrath, and some of them were successful. Actually, most of them I'd say were very interesting at the least. And Asura's Wrath is one. This has some of the craziest boss fights you will ever see. Like literally bosses the size of planets that you fight. You play a god or a demigod out for revenge. And you know, I'm down. I want to see it. It looks sick. Next two I picked up from my boy Keisha Boy Games on Instagram. A little bit of a higher price, but I'm happy to have both in my collection. The first is My Beautiful Katamari, or Beautiful Katamari, excuse me, an Xbox 360 exclusive. Now, levels in this game I think were used or ported to other Katamari games, including the PS3 Katamari game and a recent re-release, like some sort of compilation Katamari game. But Beautiful Katamari is exclusive to the Xbox 360. So now I have the first four Katamari games: Katamari Damacy, I Heart Katamari, the PS2 ones, the PS3 one, and the 360 one. And then I think they took a break, and then all the re-releases on PS5, Switch. So I love Katamari, especially the first. Just Keita Takahashi is one of the great minds ever. Nobi Boy, Watam, and I have not played to a T, though I hope and pray for a physical of that. So my Beautiful Katamari, very cool. Not sure if it's backwards compatible, but what is Dead Space 3. So I've really been wanting to get into the Dead Space series because Dead Space 1 Remake is one of the last games I bought at full price. That was years ago. That was stupid. Now it's like $20, and I still have not played it. But I got the Dead Space 1 Remake. The original Dead Space on 360 is backwards compatible and looks phenomenal. Don't have that, but I have Dead Space 2 and now Dead Space 3, all on 360. So I could play through the whole trilogy. Dead Space 3 is the black sheep. They say it wasn't good, it was rushed, it was, you know, it wasn't a survival horror game, it was just an action game, and it was silly. But 1 and 2 are lauded, and the 1 remake in particular is phenomenal looking. Like, I booted it up, and I even have it now. They just gave it away for free on PS Plus. Imagine how stupid I felt. But hey, Dead Space trilogy, you know, Resident Evil 4 is my one of my, if not my favorite game ever, so that's right up my alley. And it's one of the only games that did it to that level. It's like the Lies of P of third-person shooters of that era. Like, it's one of the only other ones that did it to that, did that exact thing to that level. Okay. The next 7 games I got when I was visiting LA with my boy Dill, and we were just driving around. I was like, last time I went to LA with my parents in December, there was a game store, and I went, and I didn't buy anything because the condition were terrible, the selection was bad. The store was like, well kept and stuff like that, but just wasn't feeling it. Just didn't see anything that I wanted, but really enjoyed it. I forget the name. But this time that I went, we were going to the west side, going to the beach, and I was like, oh, maybe there's a game store around. So I see A&J Games on the map, pull up, go in there, and it is an insane store because it is wall to wall. I don't even know if it's organized. It's been open for like 35 years, but it's just wall to wall games. And there's like stacks of games, like Disaster Zone to some, but to a true gem hunter such as yours truly, it was fantastic. And I found actually lots of decent or good condition games, and we made a bundle deal. So for, I believe, 70, so around $11 each, I picked up some stuff that I've had on my list for a while that I've been wanting to play. The first is Fable 2. So with the new Fable coming out at the end of the year, if it's not delayed, though it probably will be, Fable 2, they say, is the height of the series. So definitely always wanted to play a Fable game. I think that, I'm forgetting his name right now, but the guy that they say always overpromises and underdelivers, the developer of the Fable games. Lionhead Studios, I think the charm and the British humor and the sort of like high fantasy but with a wink is delightful in these games, and I've always wanted to play them. Now I think I'm going to start with Fable 1, but Fable 1 and 2 are supposedly great, and people look back at them with a lot of joy and nostalgia, so definitely going to have to try Fable 1. Another great RPG, which I've been wanting for a while, got Jade Empire, and very cool, got the limited edition. Now it's not any different except having like a making of documentary disc, which is cool for me. Oh, he's coming. I'm gonna hold it. Okay, he got up there. Jade Empire, this was BioWare at the height of their powers. I believe it's backwards compatible on Series X, but this is, when they're coming off Knights of the Old Republic, then this, then Mass Effect trilogy. So, and Dragon Age. So these people, game development used to be cheaper before the HD era, or during the beginning of the HD era, and you would just get banger after banger from these great studios like Naughty Dog. He ate it, whatever it was, or BioWare, and now they are either not really existing as they used to. All those people who gave us these classics have left, or like Naughty Dog, they're like, we are constantly setting the standard, so we need to crunch our developers to death to create, the next like state-of-the-art thing. So I'm sure Interstellar will be phenomenal and the best looking game ever, but you're gonna have to wait 7 to 10 years for it. And if you want GTA 6, you're gonna have to wait 13 years. We got Yusof Plays episode 17 or whatever before GTA 6. Next couple games, really been trying to focus in on 6th, 7th, whatever it is, gen collecting, PS3, 360, Wii collecting, and haven't collected Wii games in a while because there's nothing that I really, really wanted, but I'm super happy to get these, all Wii games at A&J Games. The first is Trauma Center Second Opinion, phenomenal condition. Just love these games and love how they make use of the Wii remote. Samba de Amigo, probably not as good as the Dreamcast one, but hey, Samba de Amigo. And we just saw him earlier in the Sega Superstar Tennis. Ghost Squad, really been wanting this one. Cheap, super cool, one of the best Wii Zapper games. I'm a big Wii Zapper fan. Shout out to my boy Demir. He's the bigger Wii Zapper fan. So Ghost Squad, very cool. Sega game as well. And then this I picked up, not sealed, though it is in plastic. And then the other one, the first one in the series, I picked up just on eBay because I got it cheap. So we got both Endless Ocean games. So this one at A&J and this one on eBay. Endless Ocean is such a cool concept and such an interesting game because it's not really goal-oriented, like attack, go fight, go complete all these challenges. It's more so like just a calming experience. Now I also have the Switch one, so I have all three Endless Ocean games: Endless Ocean, Blue World, and Luminous. And I just think they're like very, very delightful and beautiful, and they have a respect for nature. Now, I may be mistaken in this, but I'm pretty sure that these games come from the mind of the gentleman who created Aquanauts Holiday, because it's the same concept. Those are PlayStation 1 and 2 games that were just about ocean exploration and learning about fish and things like that, discovering the beauty of an endless ocean. And I believe it's the same company, Arica. So I don't know that developer's name, just like I'm forgetting the name of the guy who developed or spearheaded the development of Fable, but very, very cool. So check out Aquanauts Holiday as well. All right, we're rounding it out here with our PlayStation pickups, and I'm very happy about these. The first is an all-time classic, one of my favorite games ever. And I have such a strong memory of getting it because my wonderful cousin Sarah, she was visiting Dallas, and I don't even remember, I must have been like 12 or 11, somewhere between 11 and 13 years old. And it was my birthday, and she wanted to get me a gift. She was just like, what do you want? Because she's a cool cousin. And I wanted 2 PS2 games in particular, and she got me both. One, for some reason, I sold. I think during the whole, the memory of when you sell all your games for something stupid. I won't get into it again. I think I sold that then, which is what I got back. And then the other one I still have. So those 2 games were Bully and Okami. Both became 2 of my favorite games of all time. Okami in particular put like 100 hours into it. I just absolutely loved it. So beautiful. And it was around the same time that Twilight Princess came out. So in that year, I played Okami and Twilight Princess both for like 100 hours, and just they became some of my favorite games ever, and they were incredible. Now this copy of Okami on PS2, I just love Okami. I have it on PS3 in the remaster. I have it on PS4. I have it on Switch. I have it on everything. But Okami on PS2, I still think that the art shines through best on a CRT or a small LED display. I think when you get to the 4K ones, it sort of like looks, I don't know, something about it gave me a headache when I tried to play once, which almost never happens. But Okami on PS2 is an all-time classic. If you can get past the one big flaw of this game, which is that there's too much dialogue and wordiness, everything else about it is beautiful. I mean, the art alone will carry you through the adventure by just how gorgeous it is. And also has some of the best dungeon, quote-unquote, design and interesting mechanics. I was incredibly excited and moved. Not as moved of Jeff Keighley, but very moved when Okami 2 was announced to be in development. I'm very much looking forward to that. And who doesn't love Hideki Kamiya? So, one of the GOATs, and Okami, always a special place in my heart. If you haven't played this, I don't even know what to say to you. So the next 3 games I really actually super wanted, and I got them on discount. So that's exciting. The first is also one of my favorite games of all time. Got remade. Metal Gear Solid 3. Snake Eater was remade as Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. Now, a lot of people have problems with these remakes and say that the art is this and that, and it's true. I agree with you. The art is soulless, and the art doesn't have the charm and look of, and the art, the art design isn't accurate. It just looks like a UE5 game, but supposedly it's still a looker. So we've got that I got for sale on like 35, 40, something like that. And I don't think they ever reprinted it, so it's always going to be the tactical edition. So I got the Snake Eater remake. Another classic that I own the original of, but was looking forward to this remake. I think they did a really good job. Final Fantasy Tactics Ivalice Chronicles. This is just supposedly one of the best tactical RPGs ever, and one of the best stories ever told in games. Games, sometimes people will say, well, they have a limited ability to tell like meaningful stories. They don't really contain politics. It's more of either a power fantasy or it's about the gameplay. It's about presenting mechanics. But Final Fantasy Tactics does all of those. It has a real amazing story about political factions fighting each other, overlaid on top of a really, really deep strategy game. So, you know, check it out. And then the last I was happiest about, because I really wanted this, and it's been out for some time, like 6 to 8 months, but it hasn't gone on sale. And I loved the first one. I played it like in 2020 or 2021. And I was like, man, this is never gonna go on sale. Then I keep getting emails from Sezzle, you know, one of the pay in 4 scammy companies, and they're like, hey, you got a bunch of Sezzle spend. I'm like, what the hell is that? So anyways, I download their app. They're like, use your Sezzle spend, get this offer, sign up for $1 for your first month, and then you can use your Sezzle spend. So I sign up, and it's like, you got like $400 in Sezzle spend. Anyways, it's all a scam, but they do allow me to use $80 of it at Amazon. So I picked up this game and a book, picked up The Prize by Daniel Yergin, a book on the history of oil, and it's like 1,000 pages, and there's also a PBS documentary about it, or based on it. You may be interested because it's one of the bases for There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson. I believe, and I have not read the book, but I believe that I Drink Your Milkshake comes from this book. So The Prize by Daniel Yergin. You can also watch the PBS documentary. Regardless, we got this game, Ghost of Yote, full price for free. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's the type of come-ups that don't happen anymore these days, but I got it. And I'm super excited for this. This is supposedly improves on Ghost of Tsushima in every way. So I'm very excited to play this. I found the first one beautiful. It was a little long in the tooth because after like 20 hours of it, there was really nothing else to do except fight Mongols, which was great, and the combat was great, but really it got repetitive. But apparently this one has more variety. I'm going to try not to do the thing where I play a game too much. I'm going to try to just go through the story and enjoy myself. So Ghost of Yote, got that for free, and I'm excited to play that. I might play that after Bonanza. So we will see. So that's everything. Got our Super Nintendo pickups, Wii, Xbox 360, PS2, and PS5. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate you. And really, that's it. Another Yusof Plays in the books. Take care.